think the recording has started. Yes, we are good, all good.
And then could you also enable me to be able to screen share?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm making you yes. I made you a host, so now you can.
Perfect. I'll share my screen and share my little presentation here. Great. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Great to get to meet some of you and share a little bit about what we're doing with Halp. I'm Fletcher, as Deepak mentioned, and I'm going to be talking to you today about Halp. So I was the co-founder of Halp. We were a new product acquired by Atlassian in May of this year. So I'm going to tell you all about our product and how it works, and how you can use it to improve your internal help desk and give you a little demo. So that's how it'll work. I see someone's in the waiting room. Should I let them in, or can someone else?
Fletcher, do one thing. Just make me the host, and I will handle that thing.
Okay.
The presenter then.
I don't think I can share if I'm not the host. Maybe.
I will make you the presenter.
Okay. Cool.
You can make the co-host so that it is easier.
You're the host.
I was looking for the co-host option, but like again, I'm not on my most comfortable laptop today.
So there is no option to make the co-host.
Yeah, you can make me the host, and then maybe we can turn off the waiting room. I don't know, or is that required? Maybe that's required.
I guess they have made it mandatory now. So I'm making you the host, and you can continue.
Okay, sounds good. Cool. So I'd love to just start with a little bit of background on why Halp exists. So what is the reason for Halp as a product? And it really stems from this massive shift that's happening in the way that we all communicate in the workplace. So traditionally, for the past 20 or so years, email has been the main way that we communicate with our coworkers. If you have to get a hold of your teammate, you email them, and that's how you communicate. It's also been the traditional way that we open a help desk ticket. You email helpdesk@company.com. But over the last 5 years or so, we've seen an enormous adoption of messaging tools in the workplace. And the primary two tools are the ones that I have up on the screen here, which are Slack and Microsoft Teams, who have really been the market leaders. And you can see some of the stats here about the amount of usage that Microsoft Teams and Slack are seeing. These stats are actually pretty out of date at this point with COVID-19, the rise of remote work and the increase in people with remote offices has led to even more adoption of these tools. So this trend is really only accelerating. I'd love to hear from folks in the audience. Do you use Slack? Do you use Microsoft Teams? Is there another tool that you use? If you want to just post in the chat, I'd love to hear from folks just to understand the audience a little bit better.
So I use Slack.
Cool. Looks like we have some Slack, some Teams, some of both, which is great. Cool. Thanks. So yeah, so this increase in these use of these messaging tools means that there's really opportunity to rethink the way that we do help desk as well. If we're communicating in a different way in the workplace, then we need to be making tickets and getting IT support in a different way inside the workplace. And so what Halp is as a product is we've rethought the entire concept of the help desk at a company, and we've designed it for these messaging tools. And this concept we're calling conversational ticketing, because it's really a fundamentally different way to do help desk. If you think about a messaging system and a message, it's very different from an email. It doesn't have a subject line. It doesn't have CCs. It doesn't have BCCs. All of the fundamental aspects of a message are actually much different from the fundamental aspects of an email. And so as you'll see in my demo, we've really rethought all of the different interactions that happen on a ticket, how you create a ticket with an emoji in Halp is how you typically create a ticket, how you respond to it, all of the approval processes and all of the workflows in relation to it are different inside of Halp. And what's really cool about Halp is the traditional teams that use help desks can definitely use the product. So the typical IT teams are a very typical team to use help desks, as well as operations teams. So broken laptops, password resets, printers being broken, things like that are sort of the traditional thing that needs a help desk inside of a company. But because these messaging tools are so pervasive across organizations, Halp has been used across multiple different departments outside of just your IT and operations teams. So you might have a legal team that's fielding questions, a finance team, marketing, all these different departments can get value from a ticketing tool to manage their requests. And that's what we've really seen, is that Halp is used across many different departments. It's also used across a lot of different size companies. So this is just a few highlight customers that we work with. GitHub is sort of on the larger side, many thousands of employees. Adobe is another very large company that uses Halp. And then we have smaller startups that use Halp, as well as really all across the globe. Nubank is a Brazilian company that uses our product. So it's used quite widely by different size companies, as well as companies throughout the globe. One example customer that's pretty cool is that Slack themselves actually uses Halp. So it's a little bit meta, but they have deployed Halp now for almost 2 years. They've been using it and they've seen really amazing results. One of the statistics they track is their handle time. So how long it takes from when a ticket's opened to when it's resolved. And they've seen a 50% improvement, which is a big, big improvement to see in how quickly they're resolving their tickets. Another cool customer of ours is a startup in San Francisco called Strava. And Strava saw an improvement in their response times, which is another really important help desk metric, how quickly you're responding to your tickets, of 90% once they moved to Halp and really had that one easy place for folks to open tickets inside of Slack in Strava's case. With that, I'll flip over to a demo. I think I saw a couple other chats, so I'm just going to check here to see if there was anything cool. So just Slack, Google Chat, Microsoft Teams. Great. So I'm going to show a demo of our product inside of Slack. We've been live in Slack for several years now. So that's our that was our first product that we built and our most sophisticated product. Microsoft Teams, we actually just launched into an early access program at the beginning of this month. So if folks are interested in that, you can sign up for the waiting list and be a part of the early access program. But for the purpose of this little demo, I'm going to show you guys how Halp works inside of Slack. Feel free to paste comments into the chat and or just unmute and ask questions, and I'll try and get to all the questions as well. So let me just share my screen again. All right. So for my demo here, the way that I do my demo is I actually have side by side 2 different Slack users, as you can see here. My user on the right, which is Nancy. Nancy's going to be my person who has an issue. She's going to have a broken laptop or a password that needs to get reset, and she's going to ask a question. So she's sort of our end user. And then on my left here is Jim, and Jim is our IT person. So we're going to see Jim's experience and how Jim's able to manage this ticket and answer it on the left side here. So first, Nancy's going to go over into this Help IT support channel. So this is pretty common across most of our customers. Most people that use Slack at medium to large organizations, they have these dedicated channels for support. Either they'll typically be called Ask IT or Help IT. And IT is a very typical one, but as we mentioned, there's DevOps, security, finance, legal, all sorts of different departments where you can go and ask a question. So Nancy's just going to go in here and say, hey, I need a new Salesforce account, and post into this channel. At this point, as I mentioned earlier, the most popular way and common way to make a ticket in Halp is actually adding a ticket emoji to this message. So Nancy can do this herself. She can go in here and add the ticket emoji, or one of the people on the IT team like Jim could pop in here and do it. For now, I'll just say that Nancy's smart and she's going to do this herself. So she adds the emoji to the message. And you can see that what's happened here is inside of the thread here on this message, we've actually created a ticket. So ticket number 934 has been created. Hey, I need a Salesforce account is the title of the ticket. And now this thread of this message is going to sync with the ticket. So any comments that I make onto it will push to the ticket, and any comments on the ticket will push back to this thread. At the same time, you can see here from Jim's view, Jim is in a different channel in Slack. He's in a triage channel. That's a private Slack channel. So this is a channel just for the people on the specific IT team or legal team or whatever the team is that's managing those tickets. And it's only visible to this team. And the purpose of this channel is to have one central place in Slack for them to see all of their tickets, because tickets can come from email or from direct messages or from channels. They can come from lots of different places. So we can see this ticket here, number 934, and Jim can go into here and he can reply. So he can say, hey, Nancy, I can get that for you. And when Jim responds here, you see that Jim's response posts over here in Nancy's thread in this public channel so that Nancy can see the response. Nancy says, awesome, thank you, Jim. You are the best. And same thing, Nancy's response is going to post back over here where Jim can see it. Because this is a private channel, you can see that Jim has special actions that he can take that Nancy doesn't have access to. So he can edit the ticket here. He could assign it to somebody specific. He could change the status. He can change all these custom fields. Really anything that he might want to do on this ticket is possible right here from inside of Slack. And he also can do things like adding a private note. If he starts his message with a lock emoji, and he might say, hey, at Dustin, one of the other teammates, can you help with this? And his message now, because it's marked with the lock emoji, will be private. So Nancy will not be able to see this message in this case. Yeah, those are some of the basic things that Jim can do. And this sort of gives you an idea of the interaction inside of Slack. As you can see here, we've stayed in Slack this entire time. And that's really the goal with Halp is let's create an experience where you never have to leave Slack. You can do the entire back and forth process, close the ticket, resolve it without leaving Slack. However, let's say that I want to manage a bunch of different tickets, or I have just a preference of working out of a different system or tool. That's totally fine too. So Halp integrates with Jira as well as Zendesk. In this case, we have it connected to our Jira Service Desk project. So if I open up this ticket here, this same one, 934, you can see that it's actually synced all here to a ticket in Jira Service Desk. All of our comments have synced. You can even see our internal note synced here as a comment here. And let's say that I were to reply here from Jira and say, hey, from Jira, my response from here is also going to sync to our thread here in Slack. So it's a full two-way sync of everything. Status, you can see our status just changed to pending here. Assignee, comments, fields, everything is possible to be connected and synced. So if you're already using Jira or Jira Service Desk, this integrates with cloud as well as the data center and server products of Jira and Jira Server and Data Center. And the way that we set this all up was we connected these integrations in the Halp web interface. So I'll transition over to that. Oh. Yep, go ahead. Did someone have a question? Oh, here's a couple questions.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Yeah, so can this be created for multiple channels at the agent side? Can this be integrated with multiple request types? Great question. I'll get to that in a second. Can other users in the Halp IT see the conversation between Nancy and Jim? So yes, the answer to the second question is yes, because we're in a public IT support channel. This is a public conversation that's visible to everyone who opens this thread. Let's say that Nancy wanted to create a private ticket. The way she could do that is she can actually open up the Halp app and she can create a ticket here. So if I'm creating a ticket here, I can select from a series of forms. Let's say I have a HR request, and then this form can have multiple different fields in it. And I have a private question. Can I take some time off tomorrow? And when I create this ticket, you'll see that this ticket is private and only visible to me, Nancy, in my view here. And then here in my view with Jim, oh, this one routed to the HR triage channel, which kind of gets to that first question. So that'll only be visible to the HR team. So you can have both public tickets that might be something just simple like an IT question, as well as private requests related to HR or other things. And then to get to, glad that was helpful, to get to the first question, can this be created for multiple channels on the agent side? Yes, it can, and it can also be integrated with multiple request types. So you have you're thinking about it the right way, which is, okay, we have one for IT and the IT channels mapping to the IT triage, but we might want to have another for HR or another for all of these other teams. And that's all connected here in our admin interface inside of the Halp settings. So if I sign in here, you just sign in with Slack. It's not like another account or anything that you have to worry about. Once you've authorized with Slack, you have access here to our ticket settings and ticket management interface. So here's where I've integrated with our different Jira instances. If I go here, I can see that we have a Jira Service Desk instance integrated here, a Jira software instance integrated here. These are both cloud. And then we also have our Jira server and data center instances integrated here. And what we've done is we've connected specific request types based on which channel or which emoji or which form is used. So you can go ahead and configure that here, configure all the different fields you want to map, which request type you'd like to map to Halp, as well as even upload your custom workflow if you have a custom status workflow. And then you can create a specific recipe if you'd like. So you can say if a ticket is created from a form, a Slack channel, an emoji, it's really very, very customizable to your team based on what you'd like to do. And I see a question here, can it integrate with multiple request types? The answer is yes. So basically what you'll do is each one of these request types, you'll map to a different recipe. So if you want one channel to map to one request type, you would just go ahead and add that here. So if I add this same IT support project, I can add another request type, VPN, and I can go ahead and save that. We now have another request type here, and now I can choose tickets that come from the Slack channel. Let's say Ask IT will sync with this specific request type. So that's how you'd set up multiple different channels or different emojis, or kind of depending on what kind of setup you and your team want. you can map those different request types to the different channels in Slack. Good question. So that's how we configured our integrations. This is also where we build things like forms, which I just showed a little bit of, create any custom fields that you'd like, any statuses, or sort of all of your different settings are built from here. A couple of cool features that we have that I would like to highlight. One is the ability to have the tickets be automatically created, which is called ticket deflection. So you can have certain channels automatically create a ticket when someone posts a message. This paired with our other feature, which is called Halp Answers, is super powerful. Halp Answers allows you to automatically take commonly asked questions and automatically respond to them. So you can pull these answers from Confluence if you have a Confluence space that you want to integrate with, or you can just create answers dynamically right here inside of Halp. So let's say that Salesforce question we just had, that Salesforce account creation. Let's say that there was a specific URL that people could go to. Just go to this URL, freesalesforce.com. And anytime someone uses the word Salesforce, we want this answer to be recommended. So I've just created this answer. If I now go back here to our deflection channel and say, I also need a Salesforce account, my question will now be automatically turned into a ticket. And you can see that my thread, so on my ticket, it will automatically have this recommendation for a Salesforce account reset, which is the answer that we just created. And this person can say, yeah, actually this solved my issue and I would like to close this ticket out because it totally answered everything for me, and I can give it a thumbs up as well. So we've just automatically resolved this request without anyone from the IT team having to do anything. And really saved a lot of time and a lot of effort, especially if this was already pulling from answers that you had in Confluence. Can we create a ticket with the ticket emoji in a message itself and not add as a reaction? Good question. So no, if you were to just type something like in this channel, like I need help, and you put the ticket emoji here, that would not do anything. You do have to actually add the emoji to the message itself. That's the trigger that we're looking for. In these IT deflection channels, it's automatically creating a ticket out of every message. So in that case, it would do it automatically. But in Slack, what we found is that having the reaction be the trigger for creating a ticket is it makes the most sense to folks. You can also create a ticket here from the more actions menu, or you can create a ticket using the / command by doing /halp, and that'll create a ticket here as well. So lots of options, but the emoji tends to be the most popular one. So good question. The other little things that I'll show off. So Halp, as we've seen here, integrates very nicely with Jira. I mentioned it also integrates with Zendesk. Halp also can be used as your ticketing system. So if you don't have a ticketing system, we have an easy way for you to manage all your tickets. A nice little view here for you. You can go into any of these requests and see everything that's happened, edit fields, manage your tickets. So there's a nice little ticketing interface for you here if you're looking for something really lightweight and simple, and maybe one of your teams doesn't use Jira. They're not required to use Jira in order to be able to use Halp. They can just manage their tickets right from here and have reporting and management and all of the things that they'll need, SLAs and everything, all built in to this nice little system. So that is something to keep in mind, and gives you a lot of flexibility in case you have teams that aren't using Jira, as well as the ones that do. Halp is really the one-stop shop for all of your users to be able to access and create tickets. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think we've covered the main stuff. I'll pause there, and I think we've had a few good questions. Any other questions that people have?
Pleasure, I have one question. So, can we integrate any the messages that are custom generated? For example, when somebody says Salesforce in a message and you're sending them a Salesforce URL. So, can these messages be smartly generated, or is there any AI engine or something behind the scene?
I think I understood your question. The way that Halp Answers works is it's based on these keywords that you're adding. So I added that Salesforce keyword, and then we're using some natural language processing to figure out when there's a word similar to Salesforce that's in the question. So it's doing a little bit of smart AI and machine learning to figure out the right matching, but it's really giving you the ability to select which keywords things will show up for. You can do multiple keywords on one answer, or you can have it be really specifically scoped to a small number of answers. That's how it currently works. Over time, as people use it more and more, it can get smarter and smarter because it figures out which answers people are using. But that's the current only way that it works is based on that keyword matching.
Okay, got the idea. Anybody else have any questions? This is the right time to ask.
I have a question. Is it, I mean, the complexity of integrating Halp with Teams is same, or I mean, are the easiness to integrate Teams with Halp? How is it? How complex?
Yeah, good question. So Teams, we found that there's some similarities, but a lot of differences in just the way that the interface works and the way that people use Teams in comparison with Slack. So far, the product that we're testing out with folks, which we'd love to have you test out as well, has been fairly simple and pretty similar to what I just showed you. So basically, there's very limited emojis in Microsoft Teams. So we don't use emojis as a way to make tickets. Instead, you use the little message action option. So any message, you can click it and turn that into a ticket. You can also create a ticket from anywhere in Teams with the little Halp icon on your composer bar. So it's pretty straightforward. You just sign in with Teams, you add the bot to your instance, and then everything after that is pretty much the same as what you saw in terms of a flow, but just adapted somewhat for Microsoft Teams.
Okay. Okay. How can we, I mean, you did mention that we can enroll ourselves, but how can we get early access if we want to integrate our data center with Halp?
Yeah, so on our website, I'll paste the link in here. On our website, there's a form that you can fill out. And if you just want to put in the notes that you came from this, the ACE event, here's the link to that. Then we'll see it come right into our Slack channel, and someone from our team will reach out as soon as we're ready, which should be relatively soon. So yeah, just fill out that quick little form. It'll take like a couple of minutes.
Okay. And if we would like to have a demo, I mean, for our senior management, how quick we can have the demo?
Yeah, so we probably could do one. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, we probably could do one in the next couple of weeks, I think. So yeah, just put that in the notes when you fill out the waiting list that you're interested in that.
Okay. And the pricing, is it through Atlassian or is it separate pricing which we have to do?
Yeah, for pricing.
Yeah.
Is that where you're at? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are obviously underneath Atlassian as a business. We are acquired by Atlassian. Our product does have its own separate pricing. So I think I have a slide here actually. Yeah. Our product is a separate product that you purchase, and it's priced per agent per month. So you're only paying for the people actually answering tickets, and it starts at just $25 per agent per month. And those are, as I mentioned, just the folks that are actually answering tickets. So you might have hundreds of people or thousands of people who are requesting tickets, but it's that team of folks that are answering that you're actually paying for, very similar to Jira Service Desk in terms of how you're paying for it.
Okay. Okay.
I think there was a question as well about reporting. So I just wanted to show that really quickly. So we do have reports built here into Halp. The main reports here are the response times, resolution times, which I mentioned earlier. Here's tickets created over time. So you can get a feel for that, and you can filter this by a bunch of different criteria. You also can see who on your team is doing the most work, so breakdown by agent. And then from the ticket list view, if you want more than that, you can always export to CSV. So we have the option for exporting as well if you want to do your own custom analysis, as well as the built-in reporting here. Any questions?
Anyone else have any questions? Or should I ask the generic one? So, such as how you guys started Halp. So where did the idea came from? What was the problem?
Yeah, so about 3 years ago in early 2017, we really, honestly, the initial inspiration was just, we saw how much Slack was growing, and we were really excited about how much Slack was growing, and they were really putting out a lot of very interesting functionality on their API and making it possible to build cool applications on top of Slack. And so the inspiration was honestly just that Slack was growing really fast, and we thought there was an opportunity to build something on top of Slack. We weren't sure exactly what. We just started building on top of Slack and talking to customers and talking to people that use Slack to understand their problems and pain points. And we pretty quickly got pulled to ticketing and to the help desk space. That's where there was the most problems and pain points for customers that they wanted us to solve. And so I didn't honestly even know that much about IT ticketing or ITSM or any of this stuff when we started the business. I've always just been pretty passionate about productivity tooling and creating tools that can improve people's efficiency. And I really liked Slack and thought it was a cool platform. And that was really the reason we started the business. And then we just wanted to do something that solved a customer's problem and was useful. And so as we talked to more and more people, we realized that this was a really good opportunity because of the just difference in the way that we all communicate on these messaging tools compared with email.
And another question, which is also a generic in nature. So now you are part of Atlassian. So this is not a right form to ask this question, but again, I'm not pretty open about it. So what has changed after you being part of Atlassian?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, so we were a small little scrappy startup a little over 6 months ago, operating on our own and independently. So there's things that have definitely changed, and then there's things that have stayed the same. The main reason that we decided to join Atlassian and become a part of the whole Atlassian family is that there was really a lot of alignment between us and them in terms of our vision for where Halp could go. So our vision for Halp is that it can become the way that all teams across all sorts of different companies can track requests, and manage their work. So they shared that vision, and they believe that Microsoft Teams and Slack are really going to continue to expand and grow, and that this is fundamentally the new way that we're all going to communicate and work going forward. And so they're taking a big bet on Halp as a future product for them that's going to grow quite a bit. So we shared that. We shared a lot of our core values as a team with Atlassian's core values. And so that's all been great. I'm still leading product and getting to make product decisions and in charge of all of that. Things that change are I don't worry as much about things like our HR. We have a full-time big HR staff now. We have security teams that are helping us manage our SOC 2 compliance and working with us on all of that. So a lot of the things that are more difficult as a small company to manage, we now have all of the big resources of Atlassian behind us. So that's been very nice to be able to lean on some of their resources and expertise that they have in things like HR, finance, and security, and some of the back office parts of the business. So it has definitely limited us in some ways. Atlassian has very specific models for how they sell their products and when they're willing to have custom contracts and things like that. So we have had to adapt to the new ways that Atlassian does business and become a little bit more similar to the rest of Atlassian. We're still early. It's only been 5 months since we were acquired, or almost 6 months now. But we've got lots of time still ahead of us. So we are still in the process of integrating, I would say. And it's been a great experience so far, but still lots of work to do. So yeah, good question.
Anybody have any questions or good smart people? I don't think we have more people with the questions. So
Yeah.
we will share the recording with everybody. And maybe if you guys have any questions, everybody at Atlassian and even Richard Fletcher is available to you guys. You can directly Slack him. He will open the ticket for you.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm going to make you the host again so you can manage the recording.
Sure.
Well, yeah.